happier than usual. I apologize. I didn't time it right. I didn't time the end of the little video there that runs with my hi everybody and welcome to the High Noon Rant. I am Pugs Moran. We do this every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. What is it? Well, it started out just as a way for me to stay involved, stay engaged. You know, I'm a news junkie, so I always read everything anyway. And then since I'm a bit of a hermit these days, as we do these streams high atop the One Percenter compound from the Comfort Nest Studios in beautiful downtown sunny Highland Park, Texas, I come to realize that I am a bit of a hermit. So you folks for the last 2.5 years have been pretty much who I tell all the news to. All my hot takes, all of that stuff. We got a fun little chat room. Join the chat room, won't you? Who's in there? We got Byron in there. We got the GOAT in there. We got Peter. We got, oh, by the way, yeah, I need to mention this. So this show, as I say, we're in our third year now, 2.5 years of doing this on the radiomisfits.com, pugscast.com, however you want to find us. Pugscast.com is the easiest way to find us. We've been doing this for 2.5 years now, and we do it because you people allow it to happen. Every month we raise money. Every month we do tips. I treat this like I'm a bartender. Just, drop a tip, do whatever you need to do. That's how this show makes it. And every day, the big tipper from the show before gets to be, it's a essentially ceremonial position, but executive producer of the show. Today's executive producer, how about Tracy D? Thank you so much. By the way, I did notice that one, I haven't checked it yet, but one came in earlier today, like an off time tip, which is always happy. So we'll get into that. And that person very well may be the big tipper for tomorrow's show, the executive producer. We don't get tips every day, but when we do, we like to tell the people how much we appreciate it and all that good stuff. Let's see here. What else do I need to say? God, I thought the show, if I'm catching you a bit by surprise, then you were listening to the morning show. Sybil and I are doing the morning show over there on the Freak 97.1 for those good folks on the downbeat. I said the show was going to be a bit of a later start today. Well, you know what? I was just trying to give myself a cushion because I didn't know how much time I would have, but I didn't need it. So we got the full show together. We got a full show. It's going to start relatively on time. So there you go. If we've got all that covered, let's get into it, huh? Oh, hold on a second. Let's just got to move this stuff around. All right. Let me see here. Thank you again to Tracy D, our executive producer. So let's put this up and let's get started. What do you say? You want? Hi, Leslie. Let me say hi to the people in the chat room. Leslie's here. Peter's here. Danny's here. Kevin's here. Byron's here. Jeff is here. Who else do we got? Is it merged right? Yeah, it's merged right. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Oh God, I got a good night's sleep last night. Like I was a little bit worried about how the first couple of days here were going to go with me waking up at, but this morning I woke up at like 3:55 or something. I was worried about how I was going to. I adapted pretty good. I was asleep. I was in bed last night by 9:00. I was asleep by like 10:15. But it's not as bad as I thought. It's just this dynamic is weird now. Well, I guess it's not really dynamic. That's weird. I feel I've been up forever. Like I've already been up for it feels like it's like 6:00 at night and it's only noon, which is kind of new. All right, we'll get past it. All right, what do you say we get into the show? Let's do that, okay? Let's tell you about everything that's happening in the world. How do we do this? I run through a list of things that I've compiled from all the news sources and all of that good stuff, and I tell you what I think is important. These are the hot topics, the headlines, the trends, whatever it is that people are buzzing about, I give it to you here. We perform the show in 4 quarters. We break it up into 4 distinct segments. Quarter 1, something we call Erstwhile on This Day. We take a look back at this day in history. That's all it is. It's a this day in history thing. I've just rebranded it and I do it differently. I cherry pick the events that I can rant on for a couple of minutes, seconds really. And then we move on. Quarter 2, birthdays. Same thing. Same old, hey, it's a birthday boy today. We celebrate celebrity birthdays, quotable notables, whoever it is, people who've made an impact on this world. We mention, again, I cherry pick it. I can't name everybody who was born on this day. Quarter 3 is the deads. These are the people who died. We decide whether they go to heaven or hell. That's it. Long and the short of it. They dead? Where'd they go? We decide. That brings us to quarter 4. Quarter 4 is, I like to say, where the rubber hits the road. That's the topics, the headlines, the trends, all of that stuff. So if you're willing, let's get it started. I feel like my bones, I got to crack my bones. All right, let's get started. It is the high noon rant with me, Pugs Moran. It is the 21st day of December, year of our Lord, 2023. There are 355 days ticked off from this year already. It's the 355th day of the year. That means that's easy math. 10 more days until the end of the year. Let's get started with some erstwhile on this day. This is where we take a look back at the events that have helped shape our understanding of what this day has represented throughout time. We do it because we look for rhythms and patterns. Is there something that's going to clue us in, give us an edge, a better's edge, if you will, on the events that could unfold in the coming world? Is this a day where, earthquakes happen? Is this a day where like multiple world leaders have been assassinated over time? That's what we look for, these kinds of weird rhythms. Erstwhile, on this day in 1620, Plymouth colony William Bradford in the Mayflower Pilgrims land near what is now known as Plymouth Rock in Plymouth, Massachusetts. It was on this day, 1620. So they didn't have Thanksgiving then, because they would make Thanksgiving in a couple of years. But Christmas, they had Christmas. Christmas was still around. Here's what I always thought about Plymouth colony. Like, is there? It's a missed opportunity if there is a rock station in Plymouth, Massachusetts that don't call themselves the Rock of Plymouth. That would be so great. That's just a no-brainer. That's for me to you as a consultant. Not even a fee. You can just go ahead and use that if you're listening and you own a rock station in Plymouth, Massachusetts. On the off chance, erstwhile on this day in 1826, American settlers in Nacogdoches, Texas, declare their independence, starting the Freedonian Rebellion. The Freedonian movement. That's something that's come back in modern times. People talking about the Freedonian. I don't know what that is. This was when Texas was still Mexico anyway. So on this day in 1891, erstwhile, James Naismith, a Canadian-American teacher at Springfield College, publishes the first rules for the game now known as basketball. This is actually quite noteworthy because of all of the big sports that we love here in America, whether we're talking football, baseball, hockey, none of them have a guy who invented it. We don't know who invented baseball. I know some of you think you do, but it's not. Abner Doubleday had nothing to do with baseball ever in his life. That's a made-up thing, and we all just kind of went with it. Who knows who invented football? People over time are like, it was invented by Curly Lambeau and George Halas in 1950. No, it wasn't. No, variations of football have been evolving for decades and decades before the NFL was formed in 1920. But basketball, we know. It was Naismith. We know that this Canadian gym teacher, Naismith, what was his first name? James Naismith. We should know his name. That's the point. We should know his name, and we really don't. James Naismith wrote the rules for basketball on this day in 1891. Erstwhile on this day in 1937, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the world's first full-length animated feature, premieres at the Cathaway Circle Theater. I don't know why we need to know what theater. I guess back then there was no such thing as opening wide, right? Maybe if you opened in like one theater in New York, you were killing it. I don't know. Is Snow White the mirror one? Today on the morning show that we're doing over there on the Freak 97.1 here in Dallas, we talked about the Mandela effect, which is a name applied to fake memories or things we believe are true. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Is that Snow White or is that Cinderella? I don't know. But that's an example of the Mandela effect. Everybody thinks it's mirror, mirror on the wall. It's not mirror, mirror on the wall. It's magic mirror on the wall. It has never been mirror, mirror on the wall, but we all seem to think it is. Mandela effect. Anyway, Snow White opened on this day in 1937. Erstwhile on this day in 1967, Louis Washkansky, the first man to undergo a human-to-human heart transplant, dies in Cape Town, South Africa, having lived for 18 days. See, this is, you never want to be the first in, right? You never want to be the first guy to get the human-to-human heart transplant. Because if it takes for like a couple of seconds, all the doctors are going to be excited and you're going to die and your death is just going to be, but he lived for 18 days or whatever. So that's good. Never want to be first. And by the way, what's this about? The first man to undergo human-to-human heart transplant? Why? That's a weird caveat. So there were people getting like what, dog to human heart transplants before this? that we're successful, that there needs to be a caveat added to this. It's human to human. I don't know what that even means. On this day, erstwhile in 1988, a bomb explodes on board Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland. Oh boy, I remember that. I remember exactly where I was. I was with my girlfriend and we were sitting on a couch in her house and the TV was on and she was watching soap operas. We were off school for some reason. Maybe it was Christmas break. I'm not sure. We were off school for some reason and I'm sitting on her couch and she's watching soap operas. And I'm like, ugh, soap operas. And she got up and I put the TV on like CNN. And it was right then that they're like, we don't have this program, breaking news. And then I remember it might have been one of the first cases of me justifying to a girlfriend that I need to watch some kind of a news because it's important. But I remember having this conversation with her. No, I got to watch this. This looks big. Forget about your soap opera. That was on this day in 1988, Lockerbie, Scotland. That plane exploded. It was Libyan terrorists. That's on this day in 1991, the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Boy, this is another one that I remember exactly where I was. I was working in radio in Chicago, and I was doing afternoon lunchtime deliveries for a pizza place. And I remember sitting in the bar of the pizza restaurant because it was slow and the news was on. And I watched the Soviet Union fall. Something that, I mean, before 9/11, that was like one of the biggest things that ever occurred in my life. If you're Gen X and you grew up during the Cold War, it was absolutely unthinkable that Russia or the Soviet Union was ever going away. It'd be like us going away. You know, we were here, so they were there to counter us. It was just such a strange thing, a sobering thing to watch this and go, wow, they were like, you know, our main opposition, and now they're gone. That's when we turned on each other, by the way, just so you know. That's when Americans turned on each other. During the Cold War, we all understood, you know, it's us against them. But now all of a sudden, you got people moving on. Those people hate us. Everybody that's still in charge over there, you realize that they came of age in communism. They are Soviets. All right, we'll move on. But no, go ahead. Just keep kissing Putin's ass because, God, that's such a traitorous kind of thing. I'm sorry. I know, cat's out of the bag. I can't believe it. Putin's a bad guy, people. No, he's not. He's a friend of... No, he's not. Jesus, can't you see people? Can't you judge that? Moving on. All right, let's go into birthdays a little bit happier. Everything. See, we don't do divisive politics. And somehow, and this is what I push back on, somehow that's divisive now. Going, Vladimir Putin's a bad guy. Why are you being so divisive? Wait, I'm being divisive. Wait, let me try this again. Let me reset. Jeffrey Dahmer's a bad guy. Putin's a bad guy. And yet, politically, because we're so ratcheted up politically, some people think that it's all right to support him. Jesus. Anyway, and by the way, you know, I've seen it both ways. I think it started with Trump, or no, it didn't start with, it started with Trump MAGA people, where they would have a picture of a U.S. president, like a Democrat, because that's what it is. I'd rather have Putin or whatever. No, you wouldn't. That is such a stupid, no, you really wouldn't. Ugh. You can hate Democrats. Hell, Democrats, you can hate Republicans. Well, you can. I guess that's what's happening. But man, don't for a minute get it twisted and think that you would rather have someone like Putin in charge. You're foolish. All right, moving on. Birthdays. Da-da-da-da-da-da. They say it's their birthday. That's right, they do. We don't have the rights to play music, so I sing it. Celebrating birthdays of people who were born unto the world on this day. On this day in 1615, the world welcomed a little baby Benedict Arnold, born into the world. Benedict Arnold, talk about traitors. Talk about traitors and talk about how people are complicated. Benedict Arnold, right up until the moment that he was a traitor, Benedict Arnold was one of our most highly respected and well-known generals. Benedict Arnold was the hero of Ticonderoga. Benedict Arnold, what part of the reason that Benedict Arnold broke bad is because he had injured himself severely during the Battle of Ticonderoga, for which he was considered to be one of the main heroes. And then in his recovery, he ended up marrying some fancy rich chick in Philadelphia to some big, and by the way, the family in Philadelphia they married into, they were loyalists, as most wealthy people in America were at the time. They were loyal to the throne. So Benjamin Franklin, or not Benjamin, Benedict Arnold ends up marrying, what was her name? Can't remember her name. She was hot, though. She was like super hot for the time. At least that's how she was described. Not hot. They didn't say hot, but they said, desirable and attractive. And one of those beautiful women in Philadelphia, Peggy something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Don't get distracted. But the army, for which he was owed money, couldn't give him anything. They couldn't pay him his salary. He was due money from medical expenses because of the injury that he got at Ticonderoga, and he got super broke. And that's when he was approached by, I want to say, his brother-in-law or somebody, and he ended up giving secrets. This at West Point. He tried to hand over West Point. That's what Benedict Arnold did. He tried to hand over West Point, which was a highly strategic position right there on the Hudson River in New York. Highly strategic position. He was going to just hand it over to the Brits. So that's what he did. Anyway, Benedict Arnold is a complicated guy because he was a hero, and he was wronged. I mean, he was getting screwed over. Now, what he did because he was getting screwed over was treason. And, there you go. That's an absolute. That happened, so we got to treat him for that. Benedict Arnold, by the way, went off to Britain, right, and lived sort of a life in Britain, but he was always marginalized because the people in Britain saw him as like a snake. Yeah, you were a traitor for us, but you're that kind of person. You're the type of person who would be a traitor. So he didn't have a good life. Born on this day in 1795, Jack Russell. Yeah, that guy. He did something with dogs. He was also a priest. He was a priest and a dog breeder. And I'm telling you, not a good one. Jack Russells are awful. Oh, please. But Eddie from Frasier. Oh, shut up. Have you ever been around a Jack Russell? They're awful. All they do is bark. They're yippy. All right, look, I know. I love all dogs. I don't mean that. I just, like all dogs are better than all dogs are better than nothing. Let's put it that way. But Jack Russell's, I had a bad experience with a Jack Russell. He was very loud, and he wasn't particularly kind. Born on this day in 1926. I don't know if this, I have my list of top falls from graces in recent American history. Top of that list, Bill Cosby, O.J. Simpson, people like that. Lance Armstrong. This guy is on the list, but he doesn't make the top 10 because he's a boy. Talk about a fall from grace. Happy birthday, Joe Paterno. That's right. He's dead now. Been dead. Whoa. Paterno's been dead 11 years. I didn't realize that. Joe Paterno, of course, the legendary head football coach of the Penn State. One of the reasons when we get to the deads, I have some hard and fast rules with the deads when we decide if they're in heaven or hell, which is quarter 3 coming up here. One of the hard and fast rules is I have football coaches. If you're a football coach, you go immediately to hell because football coaches are some of the worst people on the planet. They're just bad people. They're just not good people. Anyway, moving on. Joe Paterno is kind of the poster boy for that. Joe Paterno was admired and loved and all. Why? Because he won. That was it. He was just a winning football coach. Turns out in his real life, his best friend was a pedophile, and he didn't seem to care that he was molesting kids. That's who we found out who Joe Paterno was. Fall from grace. On this day in 1935, the world welcomed one of my favorites. Yeah, probably. I mean, he wasn't very prolific as a film director. You know how I love my film director. John Avildsen draft. We're going to do a John G. Avildsen draft. Who is he? Well, he didn't make a lot of movies. I mean, he made a handful of movies. He made a number of movies, and he was known primarily as a very successful film director, but he didn't like crank out 2 movies a year for 30 years. So it's a pretty easy draft to do for me. We do these like the NFL draft. We look at all of his films as if they were athletes coming out of college, and we decide which is the first pick in the draft, and we go through 5. The first pick in the John G. Avildsen draft is an absolute no-brainer. Ladies and gentlemen, pick one off the board. Rocky. That's right. 1976's Rocky comes off the board first. John G. Avildsen won the Academy Award for Rocky. Number 2 off the board. This is a stretch. See, this is where I try to be an expert, right? I take a reach pick that I think is going to pay off. I love this movie. And when it first came out, people hated it. People absolutely despised it because of the people who were in this movie this was a different kind of movie than what we become used to, or what we become accustomed to seeing them in. I'm talking about the John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd movie that followed the Blues Brothers called Neighbors. Have you ever seen Neighbors? One of the great dark comedies of all time. The reason that people didn't go see it in theaters, because John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd at this time, they didn't do dark comedy. They did in your face, gut laughing, obvious comedy. You know, they did it at a high level. I'm not smart, but this was a dark comedy, which meant that the laughs weren't obvious. You had to watch it, and the context of it made you start to laugh about the absurdity of whatever was happening. And there was always some sort of a sinister undertone with dark comedy. That's what Neighbors was. Now, another reason that people got confused with Neighbors is because of the roles. John Belushi played, there were two neighbors, John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. John Belushi played a very square, very uptight, married man, cardigan, all of that. And his new neighbor next door was Dan Aykroyd, who was absolutely insane and a wild man and a crazy guy. And they drove each other nuts. Originally, they were set to play the opposite roles. John Belushi was supposed to play the wild party man, and Dan Aykroyd was supposed to play the quiet straight man. But at the last minute, they decided amongst themselves that they wanted to switch roles. So that was another big problem. That it was kind of weird that they were playing against the type that we'd come to know them as. Anyway, number 2, Neighbors. If you've never seen it, it's a great dark comedy if you like dark comedy. Here's another great dark comedy. This is Joe, starring Peter Boyle. I don't know if you had ever heard of Joe. Peter Boyle, of course, played, was it Frank Romano, the dad on Everybody Loves Raymond. Joe is the story. It's from like 1970. Joe is the story of Peter Boyle. He's a father, and his daughter, his teenage daughter, gets hooked on drugs. And so Joe decides that he's going to go and slaughter the hippies who got his daughter hooked on drugs. So he stakes out like a hippie commune, and they go in and they slaughter everybody in the hippie commune. And spoiler alert, it's a 50-year-old movie. Spoiler alert, he accidentally kills his own daughter who's in there. And yeah, it's a dark comedy. Joe, Peter Boyle in Joe. It's an excellent film. Number 3 in our John G. Avildsen draft. Number 4, another one from this period in Avildsen's career, Save the Tiger. I love this film. Save the Tiger. I love Jack Lemmon. If you love Jack Lemmon, he's a little before my time, but he's one of those actors that I don't know, there's a vibe and an energy with him that I really like. So when I see Jack Lemmon in a movie, you know, I'll watch it. And Save the Tiger is a film that I saw when I was in high school. I was on like late night TV or something. It's really good. He's a rich guy whose business is failing, and it's a crisis of conscience film. It's great. Number 4 in the John G. Avildsen draft. Number 1 is Rocky. Number 2 is Neighbors. Number 3 is Joe. Number 4 is Save the Tiger. Number 5, last one off the board, Karate Kid. Yeah, there you go. That's your John G. Avildsen draft on his birthday. Born on this day in 1935. Born on this day in 1937, Jane Fonda. Man, she's still kind of hot. Actually, I don't know. I haven't seen her recently, but like 10 years ago, she played an old lady. She played an old, powerful, rich lady on this HBO series called The Newsroom, and she was still kind of hot. And I'm like, damn. Barbarella. Woo, saw that in my hormonal years. That was Barbarella. Let's keep going here. Birthdays, more. Frank Zappa, born on this day in 1940. Frank Zappa died in 1993, died young of cancer. Frank Zappa, musical genius, beloved by many, not a person listening to me right now who could name 2 Frank Zappa songs. I'll say that someone can, but that's the thing about him. He was a genius that it was so admired by other people. It's like he was a production genius. His music that he created, Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, or just Frank Zappa solo, or whoever he was working with at the time, he utilized the greatest studio musicians of the era and just made really avant-garde, non-pop music that people love. Happy birthday to the late, great Frank Zappa. Born on this day in 1948, Samuel L. Jackson. There are snakes on this plane. Samuel L. Jackson. I could do a Sam Jackson draft, but what would the point be? I love Samuel L. Jackson. So please don't take this the wrong way when I say he plays the same damn character in everything. He plays the same damn character. And for years, I thought he was Morpheus, but that's Lawrence Fishburne. And now I know the difference. Happy birthday, Samuel L. Jackson. Born on this day in 1948, Dave Kingman, King Kong Kingman, New York Mets, Chicago Cubs, Dodgers? I don't know, maybe. Big home run hitter. Struck out all the time, but when he connected, that thing went flying. Dave Kingman, I don't know, he probably home run leader. I remember it was always in the National League, at least when I was really little, it was Dave Kingman versus Mike Schmidt. Dave Kingman versus Mike Schmidt. Happy birthday, Dave King Kong Kingman. Born on this day in 1957. Wow, we just name-checked this guy, and here it is, his birthday. Ray Romano from Everybody Loves Raymond. Born on this day in 1957. Born on this day. Ray Romano is the reason that the Pugs and Kelly show exists. Wow, look at me just stumbling onto that. Here's why. Kelly and I were working at the same station for years, and then I had left and I had gone to a different station, and Kelly was working an afternoon show, and I was driving in my car, and they did a contest on the station that I used to work at, and I happened to know the answer. So I called in, and just randomly, they picked up. You know, I didn't have to wait. It wasn't busy. They picked up, and it was Kelly. And Kelly goes, I don't know what it was, Steve Dahl show. She's like, Steve Dahl show? And I go, yeah, I think the answer is Ray Romano. And she goes, oh, it is. And then she stopped and she goes, Pugs? And I go, yeah. She goes, I don't know. Can you win? I go, I don't work here anymore. I think I can win. And she's like, I think you can win. I go, you don't work here. She's like, okay, you want to go on the air? I go, yeah. So she took my information, and it was after that, after I answered the trivia question and won my prize, that they put me on hold to get my information. And she said to me, she goes, I was going to call you. I need to talk to you about something. And then we made plans for lunch the next day. And that's where she said, so they want to offer me a show, and they said I should ask you. That's happenstance. Look at that. Now, maybe she was going to call me, and maybe it was coincidence that I just called in ahead of time, but her and I weren't particularly close. We were just colleagues who worked on different shows at the same station. Friendly, but not like, not friends. That's how it all started. Happy birthday, Ray Romano. Born on this day in 1965, Andy Dick. Jeez, this guy. Yeah, talk about a running joke. Andy Dick was banned from a radio station that I worked at. And we banned him, the morning show. We banned him from appearing on any show on that station, no matter what, because we booked him like 3 times and he didn't show up because he's a junkie or whatever the hell is wrong with him. So we're like, yeah, no, he can't come on any show now. Please accept this rule. And all the other shows were like, all right, fine. We don't need to talk to Andy Dick. Andy Dick is really, he's a talented guy. He's a very funny and incredibly good improv actor and sketch performer. He's really good at that stuff, but man, he's got some demons that has destroyed his life. Born on this day in 1966, Kiefer Sutherland, 24, Jack Sparrow. What is his name? Jack Ryan? No, Jack. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Never seen 24. One of those shows I think I should watch, but I'll get around to it. At some point, but I haven't seen. Here's what I do know. I got to meet Kiefer Sutherland. Here's a good Kiefer Sutherland story. When I was in college, they were filming. I had a bunch of theater classes, and they were, excuse me. Remember the movie Flatliners? They were making the movie Flatliners at my college, so they were filming right there. And our campus was used for everything. Well, downtown Chicago. I mean, I guess I can't really claim the museum campus as the campus of Columbia, but we're going to say it. So Kiefer Sutherland came to one of my acting classes and just gave a little talk to the class. Now, yeah, at this point, Kiefer Sutherland was still one of the Brat Packers. It was 1991, maybe. He was still 1990. He was one of the Brat Packers, and he came over and he brought his girlfriend at the time, some actress that nobody knew. She was also in this movie, Flatliners, but, didn't matter. We were there to see Kiefer Sutherland. Yeah, that was Julia Roberts. That was like a 23, 24-year-old Julia Roberts. And I'm looking at her, I'm going, she's pretty hot. That actress says she's not famous, right? And people are like, yeah, she's a nobody. Just pay attention to Kiefer. She's got nothing. She would go on to be Julia Roberts. Born on this day in 1966, Kiefer Sutherland. Born on this day in 1983, Stephen Yeun. Stephen Yeun was Glenn. He's Glenn from The Walking Dead. The exit, we'll just say the exit. The exit, wouldn't want a spoiler alert anything. The exit of Glenn from Walking Dead is why I stopped watching Walking Glenn. Walking Dead. It is. It's why I stopped watching. Can't do Glenn like that and expect to have me as a loyal viewer. Not happening. Besides, at that point, I was just that Negan character. I was just not into him. I was like, screw that guy. I hate that guy. Born on this day in 1983, Glenn, Stephen Yeun. He's doing a lot of stuff, though. And I still, whenever I see him, I go, Glenn. On this day, birthday, celebrating. Born on this day, also 1983, Philip Humber. Philip Humber from Texas. He's from Carthage, Texas. Philip Humber was a baseball pitcher. Why am I mentioning him? You've never heard of Philip Humber. You're like, that guy sucked. Yeah, he did. Kind of a journeyman, career minor league pitcher. Finally got his big break in 2012, where a terrible Chicago White Sox team elevated him from the AAAs and let him pitch a game. And Philip Humber pitched a perfect game. He came out there. It's like, who's this pitcher? Do we even know this guy? Dude came out and dealt the greatest baseball. I watched the game. This was back when I was watching every White Sox game. I'm watching this guy. I'm calling my friend Mike, who we're both like diehard fans. Like, who is this guy? And he's like, I have no idea, but it's the 8th inning and nobody's gotten anything off of him. That was pretty exciting. There you go. Those are your birthdays, ladies and gentlemen. Buona, buona, buona. And you never heard from Philip Humber again. Throws a perfect game. ESPN's all over him for 24 hours, and then you never heard from him again. Unable to replicate it. All right, that's going to do it. They say it's their birthday. Now let's go into the deads, huh? These are the people quarter 3. We go through a list of people who have died on this day, and we decide, are they heaven or hell, right? Where'd they go? All right, here are the deads for today. Dead on this day in 1937, Ted Healy. Who's Ted Healy, you might be asking? Ted Healy is the inventor of the Three Stooges. Ted Healy, the Three Stooges started out as Ted Healy and his Stooges. Ted Healy was a vaudeville performer and he is a star. And one of the most popular parts about his act were these 3 idiots that would come out and interrupt his show. And it was Ted Healy and the Stooges. And then the Stooges got big and they were like, screw you, Ted Healy. And the Stooges went solo, leaving Ted Healy in the dust. Is Ted Healy in heaven or hell? He's in hell. I don't know anything about him, but if he was a vaudeville performer, oh my God, those people were dead on this day in 1940, F. Scott Fitzgerald. I'm putting him in heaven. Although he's a kinky dude, I mean, there's probably a lot of fascinating stuff in F. Scott Fitzgerald's. F. Scott and Zelda, they became the toast of New York society. They were probably a-holes, but man, I love his writing. So I'm putting F. Scott Fitzgerald in heaven. You can kiss my A if you don't like it. Dead on this day in 1945, George Patton, General George S. Patton. You know how I've been telling you I'm doing nothing but watching World War II documentaries on Netflix in color. There's like World War II in color. There's like 3 different series of it. And there's like 10 episodes. So I've just been, because I'm old, and the only thing I watch now is World War II stuff. So Patton. So we have to decide if George S. Patton is going to heaven or hell. Well, just from what I know in general, it's not even a question. General Patton was a complete D-bag. He was not cool. And here's the other thing. He was not a good or well-respected general. He was trouble. He was a problem. He took too many chances, and he was probably insane. Yes, he didn't make very good strategic decisions. He pushed his guys way too hard. He took more losses than any other American general. The North African campaign, I know that, it's a big thing. We drove Rommel back. We secured the Suez Canal, all of that stuff. But he did that with almost no regard for the American fighting men that were underneath him. He just sent them all in. And then, we know the story after taking Sicily, right? So, he had a problem with Montgomery. Montgomery was the British general who historians look back and go, Montgomery was actually really good. That battle in North Africa was really about Montgomery versus Rommel. But because there was a movie starring George C. Scott that came out in 1970 that almost completely fabricated Patton's story, it's believed that Patton was important. Patton was not a big player. He wasn't. I mean, the American generals who were There were worse generals. General Clark was the absolute worst American general in World War II. So Patton wasn't the worst, but he wasn't like Ike. He wasn't like MacArthur. He wasn't even like Montgomery. Go over to the other Allied generals. Patton way overrated and disgraced. Patton was stripped of his commission in Sicily because he went to a hospital and beat up a bunch of soldiers. He ordered them back. I don't know, PTSD or whatever it was. They were shell-shocked, and he was basically calling them fakers, and he struck a soldier. And that, even in 1944 or whatever, was considered outrageous behavior from an Allied officer. Allied officers didn't yell at enlisted men, and they certainly didn't put their hands on enlisted men. And he did that, and he was stripped of his. And there's the famous thing, shooting of the mule. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's war. There was his troop was being delayed, and they were sitting ducks for a mobilizing German force that would have picked him off in the road. The road was blocked, and so the American forces led by Patton were being pinned down. And it was blocked because there was a dude with a mule, a donkey, and the donkey cart had overturned, and it had created this incredible blockade of the road. So Patton got out of his Jeep, walked up to the overturned mule, shot the mule in the head, and then had his troops just throw it in the ditch. That's it. Pulled his gun. Boom. I get that. Now that's a way that a lot of people are like, Patton was terrible. He did that. And I'm like, no, he did the right thing there. He come on. The problem is that we're now sitting ducks. Anyway, Patton, he's going to hell. He was like not great. I love the movie too. And I love George C. Scott as Patton, but that's just not true. It's just, they put him in charge of the fake army. Like, did they cover this in the movie Patton? So when we were planning the D-Day invasion, the Germans didn't expect that we were going to hit Normandy Beach. They thought we were going to hit Calais. And why did they think we were going to hit Calais? Because we had created a fake army with thousands and thousands of inflatable tanks that from the air, if you were a German reconnaissance plane, you would look down and see these thousands of, I believe it's famously known as Patton's fictional Third Army. And the Germans thought that it was Patton, and they thought that he had this, and it wasn't. It was just a rouge, so that the German defenses would have to defend Calais, because that's where they thought D-Day was coming, but it wasn't. It came at Normandy. Patton was kind of a goof, and for some reason, because of the movie, because nobody reads history books or anything, they just see the movie and they're like, I'm a Patton expert. Hollywood lies. You can't get that through your head. Hollywood lies. Born on this day dead on this day in 1945, George Patton. So he's going to hell. Dead on this day in 1992, a Great American Bluesman. So I preemptively put Great American Bluesman into heaven. Ladies and gentlemen, Albert King died on this day. Albert King, great bluesman, St. Louis bluesman. And I make this distinction between, the East Coast blues, Chicago electric blues, and then the St. Louis blues. It's different. A lot of them have their Delta origins, like all these dudes are from Mississippi. But, where did they gain their chops? What city? He was a St. Louis guy, Albert King, and one of the greatest of all time. All right, that's going to do it. All right, let's get into now quarter four. This is where we run through all of the events, the hot topics, headlines, trends, if people are talking about it, if it's buzzworthy. I'm going to run through them right now, and I'm going to give you just a couple of words on the subject, and then you'll know. So you can be out at 7-Eleven and waiting in line, and somebody can turn to you and go, hey, did you hear about? And you can be confident that if it's important, if it's something you should know, then you'll go, yes, because I listen to the High Noon Rant with Pugs Moran every day at noon on radiomisfits.com. Okay, so let's get into it. Again, special thanks to today's executive producer, Tracy D. Thank you so much, Tracy. That is wonderful. Big tipper of the day, gets to be executive producer for the next day. If you want to tip the show, I know it's Christmas. That's tough. It's difficult on people. It's going to be difficult this month, but thank you. If you can think of us, that would be great. Put a little something in our stocking. Why not? And many of you already have. Appreciate you. December's always a down month, and I have to keep telling myself that because otherwise you get like bummed. but thank you, Tracy, and thank you to whoever it was that dropped a little something this morning while I was on the air at the Freak. I haven't looked at that yet. All right, top story, as we always do as we start out the top story today. We're going to go with Israel. Yeah, of course we got to do Israel. So not even really an Israel story, but U.S. intelligence is saying that over the next 4 days, we here stateside need to be very frosty. U.S. intelligence and analysts. We're going to try that again. U.S. intelligence analysts. Oh my God. Try and say intelligence analysis. Try and say that. U.S. intelligence analysis, I guess I just did. U.S. intelligence analysis warns that Hamas's influence has grown since its attack on Israel. Americans should be aware, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what does this go on? We don't need that. We don't need them. Here's what you need to know. Stay frosty. Stay frosty, because intelligence is saying, they're probably going to attack it. It may be on our Christian high holidays. I could see that. All right. The big story that's happening right now comes out of Prague, Czechoslovakia, Charles University. Did you know there was a Charles University in Prague? No. I figured there were universities in Prague, but can you name any? So we can't name, it's, if you ask the average person, they'll probably think that there aren't any colleges anywhere else in the world, right? Because you can't name, you do know that Canada has a crap ton of major universities, but we don't know it. Mexico has them. What can we name? We can name American universities because that's what we're familiar with. Maybe we can name Oxford. We're oh yeah, and then there's Oxford. Maybe some people might mention the Sorbonne, right? Something like that. But nobody says, oh yeah, what about that elite university, Charles University in Prague? I bet it's a good school. There are is there a Beijing U? I don't know. Anyway, big college there in Prague. Charles, is it St. Charles or is it just Charles University? Hold on. Let's see here. A gunman entered the university. It's being reported. I didn't get a chance to get as deep into this as I can, but here is what I have been able to cherry pick from all the information that's out there. It appears to be a student at the college. It appears to be a history student. He is believed to have murdered his father before he went to the school and started killing people there. The numbers, I don't want, 10 is a number I keep seeing. I have seen 25. I've also seen reports that the gunman is dead, but that has not really been confirmed. I want to show you what it looked like at the scene there. This is not something that is common in that part of the world. So, that's why Prague is making such big news here. So this, here we go. This. All right, I want to pause it here. Make sure you can see this. Do you see up here? See where the green top on this building is? There are other angles on the other side. These are students who are hiding on the ledge because somebody is inside there shooting their classmates. Well, somebody's laughing. That's crazy. Those students huddling on the ledge like that. Oh my goodness. All right, let me see what it says here. What is the latest on this story? I'll give you the numbers. 15. The number now, according to USA Today, is 15. It was 10 a while ago. I'm afraid that may rise. The Prague police chief said that at least 15 people have been killed. Excuse me. The Prague police chief said at least 15 people were killed in a mass shooting on Thursday at the university where the shooter was a student. Police in the Czech Republic's Interior Ministry confirmed earlier that the suspect, who has not been named, is dead. Police posted on X that they had no information to indicate the shooter was connected to a terrorist organization. Okay, but he's a terrorist. I mean, he brought terror to a bunch of See, I resist this whole thing that terrorists have to only be Muslims. Anybody who inflicts terror on an otherwise peaceful community of people is a terrorist. I don't give a shit what your motivation is. This has also always been my pushback on a hate crime. Wait a second. You hit that guy. Yeah, I hit him because he's black. That should be an extra charge. No, he hit that guy. You can't hit people. That's the charge. We can't once, and this is why, look, I understand the inclination to want to punish people who think a way that you don't like, oh my God, let's punish him for being a racist. That's not a thing. It's not a thing. What is a thing is if you hit somebody, that's assault. This has always been my argument against hate crimes. Because for me personally, I don't care why somebody is trying to kill me. I care that they are trying to kill me. And once we get into an area where we're starting to penalize with jail, with criminal charge, when we're trying to penalize the motivation behind an illegal act, like what was he thinking? Well, he was thinking he wanted to hurt a black person. Well, that should be an extra charge. No, it shouldn't. No, it shouldn't, for the very real fact that now we're getting into the area of the thought police. And that should make everybody nervous that you can somehow be penalized for what you think. Man, that would suck, because I think a lot of bad things a lot of times. But I am a good person. And what a good person does is they don't let that darkness out. So, police President Martin van Drasik told reporters at a press briefing that police were investigating whether an elderly man who was killed earlier on Thursday in the nearby town of Hatstoen was the father of the shooter. So more on this developing ... At least 15 people and the shooter are dead in a shooting at Charles University in Prague, Czechoslovakia. It's happening anywhere now. WB and Paramount, Warner Brothers and Paramount. This is the big business news of the last 24 hours. Warner Brothers and Paramount are apparently, canoodling together, talking about creating one giant super group, which is fine. I mean, this is what everything is now. Everything is some sort of a mashup of 5 different things. Warner Brothers Discovery merger talks with Paramount Global may draw out NBC Universal. So who's involved here? Warner Brothers Discovery. That's the company. Warner Brothers and Discovery. Now, Discovery originally started out as a publisher, as a publication, Discovery Magazine, that then became the Discovery Television Network. That was then, I don't know why Discovery gets the big name here. Warner Brothers, I understand. Warner Brothers Discovery merged, and now they're called that. They've held talks with Paramount Global to discuss a potential merger. The discussion should be seen as a kickoff to the next chapter for Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount Global. So what is the mix here? What are the things? What are the products that are coming together? This is not a case of both companies lusting for each other. It's more of a partnership of necessity. Neither company has a clear future competing for content in a streaming-dominated world where Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and YouTube owner Google have far larger balance sheets. So this is it. So these big giant companies it's all about their libraries. It's all about what Warner Brothers has that they own completely, that they can either remake, rehash, redo, re-release, whatever it is that they own, mixing that catalog with the catalog of Paramount, right? Which Paramount's got a crazy, everything too. So you mix these two gigantic things. Now you got a massive library, and guess what happens next? A new streaming service. That's what it is, because but isn't there the Paramount Network? But that's kind of a spare one, right? Like, I view the Paramount Network app on my smart TV as being spare. I go to it sometimes, but not often. All right, we'll see how that plays out. Paramount Global and WB, Warner Brothers Discovery. We're talking about mergering. I just murdered that merger word. Hollywood. More from Hollywood here. We just talked about the big merger of the two giant companies. How about this? Hollywood is licking its wounds as we limp across the finish line of another glorious year here in these US of A's. Hollywood had the worst year in their history. Hollywood is like, it didn't work out last year, even with Barbie. Imagine if we didn't have Barbie. Imagine if Barbie wasn't a thing this year. It's the only thing that people went to see. It's the only thing that we collectively all saw together. There were a bunch of other movies, but nothing was like a really big hit Oppenheimer's so bad. Oh, you guys. Oh my God. You guys. So guess what I started to watch last night? I know. We've been talking about it for a couple of months because there's been news stories. It's been trending. That Bradley Cooper movie, Maestro. Remember we've been talking about he's playing Leonard Bernstein. I think that's who he's playing. Leonard Bernstein. I don't know. He's a conductor of classical music. Not in my wheelhouse. But he's playing conductor Leonard Bernstein, and they're like, this is going to be a tour de force for Brad. This is what's going to prove that he's a good actor. I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean? What he's a good actor? Did you see American Sniper? This dude's an excellent actor. Have you seen American Hustle? Have you seen Silver Linings Playbook? Bradley Cooper, in my estimation, is one of the best actors that's out there today. So I was interested on that level. However, as I told you, it looks so boring. And I watched 10 minutes of it last night. And I was right. It is so boring. I will not go back. Maestro is available on Netflix, though, if you want to see that. So strikes, box office bombs, and huge leadership vacuums explain why Hollywood says goodbye to its worst year in a generation. 2024 can't come fast enough. When the clock strikes midnight on January 1st, Hollywood will close the book on arguably the most tumultuous 12 months in a generation. With the town roiled by devastating strikes, the implosion of the superhero movie genre, and deep division. See, they're saying it's over for the superhero movies. And I don't know if that's true, but we certainly don't need 20 of them to be released every month. There's a huge leadership vacuum, and that's not about to change, says Michael Nathanson, the former head of MGM Studios and Columbia Pictures. I'd love to read more, but honestly, don't give a crap about rich guys in Hollywood taking a financial bath in 2023. So we will move on. Here's a story, also staying in Hollywood. There has been a major breach of a real estate database, and here's why. Apparently, somebody hacked into this real estate database that deals exclusively with celebrities and like famous people and has everything from cell phones to home addresses to social security numbers. Well, somebody got in there and got all of that stuff. I'm gonna see if there's a list of names. Real estate database left sensitive data on celebrity homes unprotected, including addresses for Kylie Jenner and Britney Spears. All right, give me some more names. I want to know who else got violated. A cybersecurity researcher discovered an exposed real estate database containing more than 1.5 billion records, including those containing the home addresses, cell phone numbers of high-profile celebrities and politicians. All right, let me see if we get some names. Because the Jenner's a big name and Britney's a big name. Information on celebrity bankruptcies was taken. Anybody else? All right, here we go. Here's some names. Fowler further noted that he was not only able to find his own property ownership information in the database breach, but records associated with, are you ready? Here's the list. Kylie Jenner, Blake Shelton, Britney Spears, Floyd Mayweather, Dave Chappelle, Elon Musk, Dolly Parton. You leave Dolly alone. Mark Wahlberg. Have at it with that guy. Just go for it. Whatever you were going to do to Dolly, do to him. Zach Galifianakis, Donald Trump, and Nancy Pelosi. There you go. Hollywood real estate breach. Somebody out there got all kinds of information on those people. Let's see. Moving on. So this is weird. I'm seeing this, and for the last couple of days, we've been doing the morning show over there at the Freak 97.1 here in Dallas, and Lacey, our executive producer and third chair on the morning show, she's been doling out, what is it, Ritalin, or I don't know what it is, Adderall, I don't know, whatever, the ADHD medication. She's like, anybody need any? And I'm like, no, I do not. Holy crap. I took that once. I took it once and it just ruined me for 12 hours. And not ruined me like, oh, I was so messed up. That's not what it does. It made my heart race. It made me flop, sweat, cold, perspiration. And I painted my bedroom. Yeah. Now, anyone who knows me knows you painted your bedroom. I thought I'd give it a try. Why? Because I was messed up on Adderall. God, I was like, it was awful. Never try that again. And again, that's not something that you do to get high. You don't do Adderall to get high. You do it because you feel a little tired, you feel a little spacey, you want to be able to concentrate. I don't know how people take it. Lacey's like, Seb, you need an Adderall? And she's like, oh, yeah, just take a quarter. You know, I guess they have a prescription. But Adderall is missing from the shelves, from pharmacies. I guess it's not on the shelves. There are ADHD. Oh, hold on. Let me just give you this story. Wait, first of all, am I wrong? I might be wrong. And that's what Adderall is for, right? ADHD? Isn't that what it is? I might be wrong. Yeah, it is. It is. ADHD drug prices rise as Adderall shortages leave patients scrimping. Like I said, they need to find Lacey because she's handing them out. Amid a nationwide ADHD drug shortage, patients are paying significantly more for medication to help them direct their focus at school, work, and home. The shortage has placed financial pressures on families, forcing them to search for alternatives. Often the only option they can find are expensive name brand drugs. The upward trend can be seen in the prices, retail, community, pharmaceutical. I don't care. Do you care? We're done. And what if I get bored? I can only imagine how you guys are. Okay, ADHD medication. Look at that. Maybe I need ADHD medication. I got bored and moved on. Twitter. Twitter was trending this morning. I didn't notice this, but I did notice a lot of people talking about it. Apparently, Twitter had their largest interruption in years. Were they down for an hour or so today? I'm not sure. It said it only affected like 100,000 people or something, but let's see if we can find out more about this. Twitter X. That's what it says. Twitter X suffers biggest outage since the Musk takeover. Elon Musk's X suffered its biggest user-reported outage since the billionaire bought the social media platform in a widespread disruption that's since been resolved. More than 100,000 of X, there were 100,000 users of X had reported issues with the site at 1:41 p.m. Hong Kong time on Thursday. It's always a good rule of thumb to just say they're 8 hours. So what is that, like 4 in the morning here? I don't know. Moving on. Anyway, it's back now. It went down. It apparently went down at a time here in the West where very few people were on. Twitter. That's Twitter. So do you guys, all right, this is a weird one. I don't even know how to get into this. Do you guys know who T.D. Jakes is? T.D. Jakes is the leader of the Potter's House Church here in Dallas. He's a largely, well, how do I say this? He's well known. I mean, he's a nationwide guy, but he is a Dallas-based mega preacher. My friend E, who people are always surprised to find out is religious. E attends T.D. Jakes' church every. I don't know if he still does. I think he might have went to somewhere else, but he loved it, and he always went there. And I always told him, I said, look, if I was going to go to church, if I was going to just be a part, I'd go that one. That one seems fun. Those people down there at Potter's House, T.D. Jakes, they seem to have some fun. Excuse me. Got a bad. It's something in my throat. So. T.D. Jakes is trending, and there's news coming out. And apparently, he is being linked in with this Cassie and P. Diddy, Puffy. What are we calling him? I don't even care. So if you remember that story, Cassie, P. Diddy's Puff Daddy, Sean Combs' former girlfriend, she brought all these charges against him, and they were pretty eye-opening and shocking and disturbing and all that good stuff. He resolved it. He wrote her a check, but when she brought these charges, it's apparently now looking like she went to the police first and she gave them all kinds of evidence. And, well, we talked yesterday about the Epstein names that are about to be released. Apparently, there's another list of names that we should all be looking forward to, and it may or may not contain that of T.D. Jakes. Now, all of these are just allegations of people who are relatively anonymous on Twitter and social media. But I want to play this one for you because this person puts their name to it. Again, in case anybody, just in case anybody's listening, these are all alleged, but these are some pretty nasty allegations that are being, well, I don't know if they're nasty. They're not nasty. They're not nasty unless you're a sexual prude, but what they are embarrassing for a man of God. We'll put it that way. But I wouldn't describe it as nasty. I guess that was the wrong word. All right, so here's how it all started. This is a video that was posted. Hold on. Let me get this up for you. Let's watch this. Now, this is 3 minutes long. Let's watch it, and let's see how this story unfolded, okay? This is going around today, and it's why TD Jakes is trending.
Anything, this is allegedly. Ain't nobody gonna catch me slipping, okay?
Same thing.
Okay.
Allegedly.
So allegedly, Cassie has turned over evidence to the feds. Yes, to the feds. She has turned over videotapes, a USB drive, and Kim Porter's burner phone. Now, there is also an alleged email out saying a plethora of other things that include TD Jakes with Diddy. I'm gonna let y'all listen to it. I'm not finna say nothing else.
Says here, yo bro, Cassie has turned over substantial amounts of evidence to the feds. I'm told that after Cassie had a long conversation with Blank, I have to protect this person. They're going through a lot right now. And her lawyers, she finally was convinced to give up the videotapes and audio recordings that contain footage of S parties and other private gatherings that feature some pretty powerful and prominent people. And get this, she even gave up a burner phone and USBs that belong to Kim Porter with incriminating evidence against Diddy. I'm told that there are a slew of artists, politicians, and entertainers that are about to be exposed and arrested for H10. I'm paraphrasing there, okay? H10. I'm told that Cassie's husband played a significant role in getting Cassie to turn over the evidence. It's to my understanding that Cassie felt that by exposing the truth, it would also make her look like a filthy Moor, and I'm paraphrasing there, because some of the videos she turned in, it shows her getting number one, okay guys, I'm paraphrasing again, and committing more disgusting acts that she was forced to do. I'm also told that multiple male escorts corroborated the fact that TD Jakes have slept with multiple men at Diddy's parties and abroad, and they refer to him as being a power bottom. Wow. It's also been said that a young male has acquired a lawyer to represent him as he is set to sue Jakes for an incident that took place when he was just years old. It's been said that the young man was forced to perform sloppy toppy, and I'm paraphrasing here, guys. You can actually put two and two together to understand what I'm trying to say. It's been said that the man's family were members of the Potter's house, but left the church in 2015. According to multiple church insiders, the parents were paid off to keep quiet. The guy's a grown man now and is seeking his own justice. It's been said that the young man doesn't even deal with his parents even to this day because they took hush money. According to Pastor Blank, and I have to protect this pastor, Bishop Jakes is about to get railroaded and all of his dirt will be exposed. That's why the bishop has quietly lawyered up.
Hold on. That bothered me because railroaded does not mean what this guy thinks it means. He's about to get railroaded. Getting railroaded means you're being framed. Getting railroaded means you didn't do what you're being accused of. And this idiot doesn't see. So I don't know. Take all of this with a grain of salt. Allegedly. He doesn't even know what railroaded means. Let's listen back to it.
Grown man now and is seeking his own justice. It's been said that the young man doesn't even deal with his parents even to this day because they took hush money. According to Pastor Blank, and I have to protect this pastor, Bishop Jakes is about to get railroaded and all of his dirt will be exposed. That's why the bishop has quietly lawyered up.
All right, so if you were being railroaded, there would be no dirt to expose because you're not really guilty of what you're being accused of. You're being railroaded. You are on tracks. You do not have autonomy to turn and go whatever. You have to go where the tracks are taking you. You're being railroaded means you're being set up.
He sees his fall from grace coming.
Just don't look good for nobody.
It doesn't. It doesn't look good for anybody. But that's what's happening there. By the way, Ross Rubio, I saw Ross Rubio. He's like, bah, Bradley Cooper's got no charisma. You shut your mouth, Ross Rubio. Bradley Cooper's amazing. Love that guy. Jesus, I need to watch Silver Linings Playbook quarterly. It's like quarterly. I have to watch that. It is just such a gut-wrenchingly good film. All right, moving on. There you go. That's why TD Jakes is trending. How about this story coming out of Alabama, University of Alabama? Football player, offensive lineman there on the University of Alabama. Roll Tide. some big stud line. He's played in 12 games, 13 games, whatever. He's starting lineman for Alabama. They got a bowl game coming up against Michigan. No word on whether this guy's going to be allowed to play. Probably asking yourself, Pugs, what's wrong? Why can't he play? Well, this is interesting because he's been arrested by police in Alabama on the charge of spreading an STD. Yeah, sexually transmitted disease. This big-time starting offensive lineman. By the way, he's only a redshirt freshman, and he started 12 games, so he's pretty good. This big freshman, redshirt freshman, has been accused of police and charged by police of knowingly spreading an STD. Alabama lineman Elijah Pritchett reportedly was arrested Wednesday on an STD charge. The Alabama player was taken into custody and charged with knowingly passing on a sexually transmitted disease. Spokesperson for the Tuscaloosa Police Department confirmed a report was filed last week and the arrest warrant was served Wednesday. The freshman eventually bonded out on $500. Knowingly passing on an STD in the state of Alabama is a class 3 misdemeanor. I don't class 3 misdemeanor. Is that like nothing? Is that basically a slap on the wrist? Because I think that knowingly passing on an STD should be a much more serious charge than that. Further details aren't known at this time due to the medical nature of the charge. It's highly unlikely specifics will ever be publicly released unless it goes to trial. The other option is for the alleged victim to come forward, and that does not seem probable. Bama will play Michigan in the Rose Bowl for the CFP semifinals. I've reached out to Alabama to see if Pritchett will still be allowed to play after being arrested. We will update the story as I would imagine that, though. That's a fine charge. Look, if I got a daughter and this dude's running around, oh my God, actually, never mind. Glad I don't have a daughter. What does that say about this person? Knowingly, I mean, what a scuzzy thing, man. Yeah, I know. That's one of the things that really sucks about having an STD is that you have to have that awkward, embarrassing conversation with a possible, sex partner. Like, well, hey, by the way, we got to make sure we wear condoms and nobody wants to do that. So whatever. Ugh, good Lord. Here's a nice little story. I found this at the end of the year. So this is for the year 2023 based on municipal economies. A list has been floating and people have a problem with it because they don't like it. Anyway, here's the list. We like to do lists here. 5 cities in America that are the top thriving cities economically in 2023 and the 5 cities in America that are dying. Failing and thriving economies, top cities in both categories. I'm going to give you the top 5 here. Let's see here. The number 1, we'll go 1 through 5. Okay. The number 1 thriving city in the United States of America. Thriving. Okay. San Jose, California. Is that even a city? Yeah, they got a pro team, right? Shark? No. San Jose is what does San Jose have? Where? California. That's right. Not Mexico, not Texas. San Jose, California. Yeah, they're number 1. Number 2, American city that is thriving in 2023. San Francisco, California is thriving. This is the biggest of the big cities that'll be named here. San Francisco, number 2. Number 3 is Seattle, Washington. Number 4 is Boston, Massachusetts. And number 5 in the cities that are thriving the hardest economically in 2023. These are based on economic gains and personal income per capita. New York City. New York City is thriving. Good for New York City. All right, now let's move to the cities that are not doing quite as good. These are the 5 cities in America with currently failing economies in the year 2023. Number 1 is Detroit, Michigan. Well, yeah, and I don't know why that is, because Detroit is not what, me, a guy from Chicago, now I got to talk about Detroit. Detroit is not what people think it is. People think Detroit is Beirut. It's not. Detroit, you can have a really good time in Detroit. And again, just like anywhere else, there are neighborhoods you stay out of, okay? Number 2, city that's having the hardest go of it, Riverside, California. Riverside, California comes in number 2 cities here in America who are failing in 2023. Number 3, yeah, everything about this city is just a mess. This is St. Louis, Missouri. Although yesterday we did the crime statistics where we talked about, the most dangerous cities in America. And St. Louis, which traditionally, and by that I mean the last 3 years or so, St. Louis has always been like number 1, 2, or 3 in most Little Rock, Detroit, St. Louis. It was always like the big 3 of the most dangerous, violent cities in America. St. Louis wasn't on the list this year. Not at all. Not even in the top 25. I think we went through the top 25. St. Louis was not on the list, so that's good. But they are on the list here as one of the cities that is failing. Also, big city that is failing here in the final 2. So this is number 4 city that is failing in America in 2023, Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore, Maryland. What's really the point? You're right there, but you're not Washington, D.C. You're less than Washington. Everybody, Washington, D.C. is like 40 minutes away, and that's where everybody wants to go. Baltimore, really? What, crab cakes? Not even that good. Overrated. And 5th, the city in America that is failing the hardest in 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, please say hello to Tampa, Florida. By the way, serious question. Are they 2 cities? Is Tampa a city and Tampa Bay is a city? Or is Tampa the city and the body of water that the city rests on, is that Tampa Bay? Because you see, I asked the question because the Buccaneers, the team that plays down there, they're not the Tampa Buccaneers, which is what they should be if they're named after the city they play in. No, they're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is a body of water. It'd be like if the Chicago Bears were called the Lake Michigan Bears. Doesn't make sense. Is there a Tampa Bay? I don't know. I could probably easily Google it, but it's a stream of consciousness and I need stuff to talk about. So here we go. That's going to do it. Those are the 5 failing cities in America and the 5 thriving cities in America. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Another list. Wait, no way. Am I already running out of stuff? Oh, wow. It's been an hour 20. Well, maybe. I am going a little bit quick. 5 best films and 5 worst films as judged by a panel of critics. You want to see this? All right, so these are a bunch of critics that got together and they shared their notes. And these are the 5 best films and the 5 worst films. I really have to think about this, about what do I think is the best film that I saw. I really enjoyed Napoleon. I did. I know some people didn't, but I did. I thought Napoleon was really cool. But I what about the one that's on Netflix? Leave the World Behind. God, that was good. I thought that was so good. Bad title though, right? Like bad title. Julia Roberts, Leave the World Behind. It makes you think that she's like a widow, right? Like a widow. It sounds like some kind of weird, can this widow find love again? That's what it sounded like. Julia Roberts, Leave the World. It's not. It's a horror disaster flick. It's awesome. It's awesome. All right, so here we go. Here's the list of the 5 best and the 5 worst as decided by a group of critics. I didn't get their names here, but who cares really? Critics, why give them in? Thirsty for attention. All right, 5 favorites. Number 5, a film called Anatomy of a Fall. I don't know what that is. Do you know what Anatomy of a Fall is? Should we watch the trailers? I mean, I got all the trailers. We don't need to watch the trailers. I don't know what Anatomy of a Fall is, but I'll write it down and maybe I'll check it out. We are doing the 5 best films of 2023 as decided upon by a bunch of critics. Number 4, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This is the animated Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I don't know anything about this movie. Here's what I know. According to my 14-year-old son, this is one of the greatest films that has ever been made. And not only my 14-year-old son, but I've heard other people say this. So I've not seen Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, but it's blowing people's minds. People think it's really cool. So good. There you go. That's number 4 on the list of the top 5 best films of the year. The Killer. The Killer on Netflix. Now, I saw The Killer. I thought The Killer was good. I didn't really think to include it in any huge list of, the best films of the year, but I guess, careful consideration. Maybe it might make the list. Michael Fassbender plays an assassin. It's good. Check it out. It's a good film on Netflix, The Killer. But I forgot that it was in choice. So there it is. All right. Also here on the 5 best films, number 2, Past Lives. I don't know what this is. The picture that they're showing me here is 2 people, and they seem to be looking at each other like they're in a relationship, but it's ending, and they both know it's ending. So it looks like that kind of a movie. Both are Asian, if that's any kind. So it's 2. Is this a foreign film? Is this like another one of these South Korean films? I don't know. Number 1, they say it's the best film of the year. And I'm telling you, they're wrong. Oppenheimer, ladies and gentlemen. Oppenheimer comes in at number 1. I love Cillian Murphy. I mean, this is not a drag on Cillian Murphy. I just turns out I think Christopher Nolan sucks. I think his movies are overblown, self-indulgent wastes of time. But here we go. Again, if you want to see the story of the Manhattan Project and how that went from just a project to the actual bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the role that people like Oppenheimer played, see Fat Man and Little Boy from the 1990s. Paul Newman, he was the star of it. He played Leslie Groves. Leslie Groves is the guy who was in charge of the project for the military. Oppenheimer's in it. Well, it's about him and Oppenheimer. It's about Leslie Groves' relationship with Dr. Oppenheimer while this was he representing the military and Oppenheimer representing science. Fantastic movie, in my opinion, better than Oppenheimer in probably half the time. Fat Man and Little Boy, by the way, that's the name of the bombs. That's why it's called that. Fat Man was the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima, maybe. I don't know, it might be the other way around. And Little Boy was the one that was dropped on Nagasaki. That's why it's called that, Fat Man and Little Boy. All right, the 5 worst films. Ready? Let's go through these. The 5 worst films of 2023 as a college of critics have come together to make this list. Again, what are their names? Do we have their names? Do I have to go up? I don't care. Do you care? I don't care. Number 5, the 5th worst film of 2023. I didn't see this movie. Maybe it's because I heard that it sucked, but I should see this movie because I've seen the other ones. Number 5 worst movie of 2023, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Not a lot of love, although this could be a part of the decline in appreciation for what Marvel's putting out. I think people are marveled out. That's number 5, Ant-Man, Quantumania. Number 4, Fast 10. I see it stylized as Fast X, but is this the 10th Fast and Furious film? Proud to say I've never seen a single Fast and Furious film. Nope. No, I haven't. It's not to say I don't know why I haven't. I think it's because they all look stupid. I think it's because they all look really dumb. Drive a car really fast. Family, bro. I can't get into that. I'm like, nope. All right. And I love it too. My 14-year-old son has no interest either. Cause he's like, I can't believe you've never seen any of them. I'm like, I've never seen any of them. Like, you want to introduce me to them? And he's like, nah, it's all right that you haven't seen them. I'm like, yeah, it is all right that I haven't seen any Fast and the Furiouses. Number 3, worst film of the year, 65. I don't know what 65 is. It looks like it stars Adrian. Who's this? Adam Brody. No, not Adam Brody. Adrian Brody. Adam Driver. Oh my God. I knew I would get there. I name checked Adam Brody. I name checked Adrian Brody. I was probably just a minute away from name checking Donald Driver. I don't know, but I came up with Adam Driver. I love him. He's so cool. I never watched Girls, right? So that's where he came from, the HBO show Girls. He was, I guess, a boyfriend or something. But I like him. He's awesome. I like him in everything he does. 65 is what number is this? Number 3 worst film of 2023. What does it say here about it? 65 sees Adam Driver play a space pilot who crash lands on a prehistoric Earth and must contend with... Oh, I know about this. This is the movie about the guy who goes into space and he accidentally crashes on a planet that is actually Earth in its prehistoric time. So he went through like some kind of a time hole. And so now he's a spaceman from the future and he's got the laser guns and all that kind of cool stuff. And he's got to fight off dinosaurs. Yeah, that looks stupid. I bet they paid Adam Driver a lot of money. You know, in Hollywood, actors like Adam Driver, they have a rule. I don't know if you've ever heard it mentioned, or it's called one for me, one for them. That's what big name actors are allowed to do. One for me, one for them. This would be Adam Driver doing the film 65. This would be one for them. You do a movie that you don't want to do, but they'll put you in it and they'll be able to market it and they might be able to ring the cash register, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then the next movie, you do your small art film, which you want to win an Oscar for. You know, that's it. One for them, one for you. All right, that's number 3 on the worst films of 2023. Number 2 on the list of worst films of 2023, Insidious. Insidious, The Red Door. Never seen any of the Insidious. It's not a film series I'm familiar with. They're supposed to be scary though, right? Like the first one, like I think I've heard people go, Insidious is the scariest film of all time. Is it though? Really? Okay. So maybe I should see it. Maybe I should. I don't. How many years behind am I? Like Insidious. Is this like something that came out 20 years ago, or am I just like a couple of years? Doesn't matter. I guess I shouldn't see Insidious, The Red Door, because they say it's the second worst film of 2023. And here you go. Yeah, this is what I would have avoided like the plague. I got no interest in this one. Number 1, the worst film of 2023, ladies and gentlemen, The Exorcist, A Believer. I'm not even certain that I remember this being a thing. But the Exorcist franchise, and by the way, it's not a franchise, okay? The Exorcist is a film, and it's amazing. And then they made that movie, and everybody went and saw it, and then Hollywood got greedy and went, you know what? People like this. Let's just make a bunch of really bad films and slap that Exorcist name on it, and we'll call it Exorcist 2, Exorcist 3, The Heretic. They're all terrible. They are all terrible. So this one coming out in 2023, The Exorcist Believer. It couldn't possibly be good. All right, that's it. Those are your 5 best and your 5 worst films of 2023 as voted on by a college of critics. Oh, did I X out? Screw it. Never mind. Let's check in the chat room. Adam says, though that list was weird because it included TV, movies, unscripted TV, stuff like that. What are you talking about? Girls was great. Was a top 70 or 80 greatest TV shows of all time per variety. See, Adam, I mean, I've seen it. I can't get past the characters. You know, those characters are not people that I want to spend an hour with. They were all so unlikable to me. They were pretentious. They were snobby. They weren't particularly bright. I do remember it was the first time I guess I saw Adam Driver. He walked around with no shirt on a lot, right? Like, isn't that his deal? Like, oh, I just woke up or whatever. I can see the quality of it. Like, I understand that, you know, the people who wrote the scripts, very good and all that. I didn't connect with it. I didn't connect with the lifestyle, didn't connect with the people. I don't like pretentious characters, and it just struck me that they were all pretentious. Although there is a scene that I do randomly remember, and it was where the girl, Lena Dunham, who starred, right? That was her whole thing. She had to ask her parents. Her parents took her out to dinner, and she was asking for money, and she was making the case as to why she deserved money. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a good scene. But it was terrible. It was just, you know, unlikable because the case that she was making that she needed them to give her money was, you know, not likable. Made her very. Anyway, hey, to each his own, man. You know, I love Battlestar Galactica. I mean, I know a lot of people that go like, well, I don't get it why you like that show. And I'm like, because I'm weird and it's dark. And, you know, there's a lot going on that, you know, just pay attention. All right, that's it. I got nothing else, guys. We're done. That is the show. I know. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do now. Here's what we're doing. We've got a show meeting. Myself and Sybil and Lacey, we got a show meeting at 2:30 this afternoon, which is good. We can knock that out of the way because the last couple of nights we've been doing those show meetings at like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. And I got to tell you, I am so tired. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'll make it to the 2:30 meeting. We'll do the 2:30 meeting. So we'll probably be done about 3:45 after that meeting. And then I'm free, but can I go to bed yet? Because I got to wake up again at 4:00 in the morning. Like, what if I went to, oh my God, what if I went to bed at like 3:30 and woke up at 5 and then couldn't sleep again until 2 a.m.? Nope. Oh God, morning hours suck. Suck, at least in the beginning. That's it. I got nothing else. Hi, Frank. I'm saying hi to Frank. He's in the chat room. Adam says it's a 30-minute show. Okay, so Girls was a 30-minute show. And I guess I'm right. Yeah, Adam Driver was Lena Dunham's boyfriend. Oh, Adam says Frank says, I can't wait for your show in the morning. You're so sweet. Thank you. I have to say, man, everybody's been so cool over there. It's everybody. And that's so different than every radio station I've ever been at. Every radio station I've ever been at was just filled with people who were territorial and wounded and didn't want you to do good. And your very presence was suspect. What are you coming to take my job? None of that vibe over there, man. None of that vibe from any of those people. They're all self-confident. They know they do good work. And they've been welcoming. We went to their Christmas party on Tuesday night. We started doing mornings on Wednesday. We went out to the Christmas party specifically because Sybil was like, we should go. And I'm like, well, if I go by myself, it's just going to be me being awkward, weird guy. But if I go with you, because everybody likes to talk to Sybil, Sybil walks into a room and everybody's like, hey, it's Sybil. So it was good. And it worked out. And, everybody was so cool, man. Everybody was so nice. Reiner was really kind to us in like a very weird way that he's always been a nice man. Like he's always been, Pugs, how are you? Oh, great, Mr. Reiner. How are you? Don't call me that. He always says. I'm like, well, it's respect, dude. But he came over and he sat with us. We were the only people there. It was just me and Sybil and E and Reiner's sitting there talking to us. It was very nice. Danny Bayless couldn't have been nicer. I met Mike Soroy for the first time. I'm a big fan of Mike Soroy. I'm a big fan of Mike Soroy's energy. He is such a decent person. I mean, he's very funny. Here's the thing about him. He's super funny, but he never punches down. His jokes are never, his laughs, his funny, humorous conversation is never at the expense of anybody else. It's often at his own expense, which is good. Anyway, just great people, and I couldn't be happier being a part of it, even for this temporary time. Tip the show if you can. I'll mention that one more time. We certainly would appreciate it. Christmas is difficult around here. It's difficult for you too. Totally get that. But you guys are awesome, and you put up with me having to say it. Hate being the evangelizer. It's not how we want this to go, but got to be done now. I think that's it. I think we're done. Oh, you know what? All right. Well, you guys want to do something? I mean, we're just streaming now. We're just having some fun here. So, we can consider this not a part of the show. So here's something I'm very excited about. So, I told you we went to the Christmas party, and so I was talking with Bayless. He came over and he was sitting at our table with us, and I was telling him about, he writes really clever music, like all the jingles and songs and all that. I was telling him about how the song that he has written for Mike Reiner, called the Mr. Dallas theme. It's like really catchy. I'm like, that's a really catchy song, dude. I mean, if you just put other lyrics into that, I don't know. So we started talking about my favorite things that I've ever heard him done. And I randomly mentioned a song from a song contest that he entered on the ticket probably 10 years ago. And I go, do you remember like 10 years ago when everyone was challenged to write a song about the Super Bowl? And he's like, nah, he didn't even remember it. And I go, yeah. I go, and, Corby did a song where it was like, the Buccaneers are going to win, and they were footballs. They were Super Bowl songs. And then they got to Danny's Super Bowl song, and it was not about the Super Bowl. And he goes, you know what? I kind of remembered that. And then he pulled open his phone and he went into his files and he put in Super Bowl, and he goes, and he started listening to it, and he goes, oh yeah, I forgot about this. And I'm like, send it to me. I go, I have to have that song. Let me play it for you guys. I'll play it for you just because I want you to hear it. Just because I want you to hear how funny this song is. Now, remember, it doesn't matter that it's about a Super Bowl from 10 years ago, because he doesn't talk about the Super Bowl. It's just a great example of what a genius this guy is musically and how funny he is, how he just looks at things differently. So if you'll allow me, we'll go out with this song. We'll listen to this song together. It is, I keep saying this, it is the best radio parody song. It's not even a parody because he only does original material, but it is the funniest. That's what it is. That's, to me, it strikes me as the funniest song I've ever heard. All right, so here it is. There, Danny Bayless. Let's listen to this, and I'll stay on through it. But you guys tell me. I might be weird too, by the way, right? Like I could totally be wrong here on this, but I don't know. It's just so weird. Again, everybody on the hard line was told, write a song about the Super Bowl that's coming up. And on the Friday before the Super Bowl, everybody on the show unveiled their songs about the Super Bowl. And this is what Danny Bayless offered up on that day. Here we go. I love this song. Enjoy. By the way, let me just, it is key that you listen to the words and follow the story. Okay. It's a story song.
Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch. Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch. Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch. Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch.
Every year this time it's the same old thing. Getting all ready to watch the game. Waking up ass early, making coffee for two. Cause me and my shorty, we got things to do. Pick up the house, put the dogs outside. Got my feeler wear on so we can go for a ride. Rolling down the street in my Subaru, off to Trader Joe's for snacks and food.
Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch.
Snacks!
Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch.
Back to the crib with some $2 chuck. Shorty looking fine, I think she down the So I open the hatchback and grab all the grub. Then I sneak out back to turn on the hot tub. Much to my surprise, what do I see? It's my best friend Larry and he's looking at me. What's he doing in the hot tub? I know he ain't gay. I guess Larry's ready for a Super Bowl three-way.
Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch.
Menage.
Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch.
Well, that was weird. With Larry in the tub, he tried to touch my junk. So I hit him with a golf club. Opened up a cut just above his eye. Then I finished him off with a Colombian necktie. Now Larry's dead on my bathroom floor. So I wrapped him up in carpet and dragged him out the door. Then we stuffed him in the back of the Crosstrek and drove up blasting Taylor Swift on the tape deck.
Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch.
Hopefully it's just manslaughter.
Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch.
Good God, this day was an epic fail. My best friend's dead, I'll likely end up in jail. But never mind that, I got a tub to scour. And the big game starts in less than an hour. We got to get our drink on and set up the spread. Oh yeah, there's a murder charge hanging on my head. But that's how we do, and Shorty won't snitch. Just another year hanging with my Super Bowl bitch.
What?
Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch.
I got the Bucks by 3.
Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch.
Snacks.
Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch.
15 to life.
Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch.
I'm sorry, Larry.
Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch. Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch. Hanging out with my Super Bowl bitch. Hanging out with my
All right. There you go. That's Danny Bayless's Super Bowl song from about 10 years ago that I've never forgotten. And I've always just thought, so, hey, write a song about the Super Bowl. Okay, here's my song. What's this about? Well, it's about how my neighbor and best friend Larry was murdered by me during a three-way gone bad. That is a way of thinking and looking at the world that I just admire the hell out of. Yeah, so he found that. He sent it to me today. It's like, dude, I found it here. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. So that's fun. So I've got that. What else do we want to do? Is there anything else? We got a couple minutes here. Let's see. Nah, not the new closing theme, but Peter says it's the new closing theme. It's a special song. To me, it's hysterically funny. And if it's not hysterically funny to you, that's fine. I have a weird sense of humor. I know that. I know. It's always been the case. All right, kids. I got to eat. You know what? I got a meeting here. So we're going to do a meeting with the guys for the show tomorrow. I got a meeting here at 2:30. So that's 45 minutes. I'm going to go make a pork chop. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a pork chop sandwich for lunch. So, peace. No, I'll see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, same time, noon. And then tomorrow morning, if you guys are hanging out, check us out on 97.1 The Eagle Freak. Oh, I'm so used to saying 97.1 The Eagle. I don't know why. I never worked there. Did I? Briefly, maybe? No. 97.1 The Freak. It's Pugs and Sybil during the morning show. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Again, no, we're not doing any Radio Misfit shows. Maybe we'll get an update on that for you as to what's going on there. Just be respectful and just, ignore. Okay. You know what I mean? The show will be back, but just there's something going on and it doesn't really need to be discussed yet until we can discuss it happily. All right, there you go. So we'll see you tomorrow. I love you guys. Tip the show if you can. I'd appreciate it. If not, I still love you because, you've gotten me this far. 2.5 years. Bye, everybody. Last words now.